The gates creaked open like a warning. Gravel snapped beneath the tires as my rental car rolled toward the mansion I had dreamed about for half a century. Each turn of the wheels felt heavier than the last. Somewhere behind those walls were the people who created me, and discarded me like a mistake. The estate rose out of the valley like it owned the horizon. Limestone columns, glass windows that caught the sun like mirrors, gardens manicured into impossible perfection. I'd spent decades serving eggs and coffee at Mel's Diner in Toledo. Now I was pulling into a driveway that probably cost more than my entire life. I killed the engine and sat there for a moment, gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles went white. My daughter's voice echoed in my head, "You don't have to do this alone, Mom." She was right, of course. But Sarah had her own life, a brilliant one, and I had been standing on my own 2 feet long before she was born. If I was going to walk through that door, I needed to do it under my own power. The butler was waiting when I finally stepped out, tall and stiff in a dark suit. He didn't smile. His eyes scanned me the way airport security scans a suspicious bag. "Mrs. Williams?" "That's me," I said, though my voice didn't sound like mine. "But most folks call me Dot." He nodded without interest and led me through corridors lined with oil paintings, chandeliers glittering above us. Every step echoed, hollow and cold. When we reached the conservatory, sunlight spilled across the floor like a spotlight. At the center, in a leather chair that looked more like a throne, sat the woman who carried me for 9 months and then chose silence for 67 years. Her posture was perfect. Her gaze sharper than glass. "Mrs. Ashworth," the butler announced. Victoria Ashworth didn't rise. She only looked at me, her lips pressing into something between a smile and a verdict. And just like that, the stage was set. The air in the conservatory was thick with the smell of orchids. They hung in glass vases above us, dripping with water, delicate and precise. I wondered if she had chosen this room on purpose, as if beauty could hide the cracks in her story. Victoria's eyes traced me from head to toe, not with recognition but with assessment. "So," she said at last, her voice cool as marble. "You found your way here." It wasn't a greeting. It was a fact, delivered with the weight of judgment. I sat down across from her, my hands folded tight in my lap to stop their trembling. I wanted to speak first, to tell her what this moment meant to me, but the words lodged in my throat. For years, I had rehearsed, "Why did you give me up? Did you ever think of me? Did I ever matter?" Now, staring into her flawless face, all I could manage was silence. She filled it easily. "I suppose you expect something. People always do when they knock on our door." Her gaze flicked to the pearls at her wrist, as if even acknowledging me had taken time for more important things. "I don't expect anything," I said, though the crack in my voice betrayed me. "Just the truth." Her laugh was soft, bitter, almost elegant. "The truth is simple. We had a life to build. You would have ruined it. So we did what was necessary." The words landed sharper than I thought they could. Necessary. As though my existence had been a problem solved with paperwork. For a long moment, neither of us moved. The orchids above trembled as a breeze passed through the glass walls, fragile petals quivering in the stillness. Finally, she leaned forward. "You've had a life without us. Consider that a gift. Don't make the mistake of thinking you're owed more." I stared at her, my heartbeat loud in my ears. I hadn't come for money, or status, or any of the things she thought mattered. I had come for something she didn't seem capable of giving: acknowledgement. The door behind me opened with a groan, and the rhythm of careful footsteps entered the room. I turned, half expecting another servant. Instead, a man with thinning silver hair and a cane appeared in the doorway. His suit was perfectly tailored, but his shoulders sagged with the weight of age. "Richard Ashworth." "My father." For an instant, his gaze softened when it landed on me. He hesitated, as if he recognized something familiar, a tilt of the chin, the shape of my eyes. But then he blinked, and the softness disappeared, replaced with the same guarded composure as his wife. You must be Dorothy, he said quietly, voice roughened by years and maybe regret. I opened my mouth, but Victoria cut in, sharp and dismissive. She was just leaving. No, he replied, firmer than I expected. She deserves a word. The room shifted. For the first time I felt the power between them falter. Richard hobbled closer, studying me as though I were a ghost brought to life. What have you done with your years? He asked. It wasn't cruel, more curious, like he wanted a story to fill the silence between us. I raised a daughter, I said. My throat tightened, but I held his gaze. Worked tables. Paid bills. Tried to do right. Something flickered in his eyes, admiration, maybe, but it was gone before I could name it. Victoria's lips curved in disdain. Waitressing. How predictable. The contempt stung, but before I could answer, the butler reappeared, clearing his throat. Another visitor has arrived. She insists on being seen. Victoria snapped, we are not holding an audience. But the butler's next words cut through the room like glass, it's Miss Sarah Williams. The name hung in the air. Recognition dawned in their eyes, not of me, but of her. My daughter. And in that instant, the balance I had lost for 67 years shifted. Because Sarah wasn't just my child. She was a star. And she had come to stand at my side. The conservatory doors swung wide, and Sarah entered with the kind of presence that bent the air around her. She wore no stage makeup, no designer gown, just a simple black coat and steady eyes that could pin an audience of millions. Mom, she said, crossing the room to kiss my cheek. Her voice softened only for me, then sharpened as she turned to face the Ashworths. Grandmother. Grandfather. The words landed like a dare. Victoria straightened in her chair. So you've involved your daughter in this performance? No, Sarah said evenly. I involved myself. Richard's cane tapped against the floor, betraying his unease. You're the actress. The actress. The producer. The woman who grew up on diner tips because my mother refused to abandon me the way you abandoned her. Sarah's tone was controlled, but beneath it simmered anger. I wanted to stop her, to keep her from carrying my pain on her shoulders. But the truth had already broken free. Victoria's laugh was brittle. This is absurd. We've given millions to children's charities. We've built schools, hospitals, and yet, Sarah cut in, you couldn't make room for one child. Your own. The silence that followed was heavier than any insult. I could see the cracks in their composure now, Richard's trembling hand, Victoria's jaw tightening. Inside, my heart warred with itself. I had come here for answers, not vengeance. Yet watching Sarah defend me so fiercely stirred something I hadn't felt in years, the sense that I wasn't alone. Victoria finally hissed, you came here for money. Admit it. I came here, I said, my voice steadying, to see if the people who gave me life could give me honesty. But even as I spoke, I sensed another truth closing in, one that would raise the stakes far higher than rejection or shame. Because Sarah wasn't finished. She had brought more than her presence into this room. She had brought knowledge, and knowledge had the power to shatter their empire. Sarah stepped closer to the glass table. Her hand trembled, not with fear but with restraint, as she placed a folder down with a sharp snap. I didn't come empty-handed, she said. Your names may control boardrooms, but laws don't bend as easily. Victoria's lips curled. What are you implying? Sarah flipped open the folder, sliding documents toward them. Grandfather's trust. The one you never managed to erase. Every biological heir has a right to their share. That means her. She pointed to me. $600 million. The words detonated in the room. Richard gripped his cane as if it were the only thing keeping him upright. Victoria's face drained of color, and for the first time, her poise faltered. James barreled in, his voice cracking with panic. She can't have it. Do you know what this will do? The businesses, my position, everything collapses if this gets out. His desperation spilled like blood in the water, and in that moment, the empire didn't look powerful. It looked fragile, built on silence and fear. I sat perfectly still, my pulse thundering. Money had never been my dream. But acknowledgement, finally, here it was, forced into their hands by the very thing they valued most. Victoria whispered, "We tried to bury it. For decades. And still, she returns." Her words landed heavier than any rejection. Not just unwanted, but erased. Deliberately. Tears blurred my vision, but I didn't let them fall. I stood, pushing the chair back, the sound echoing like a gavel. "All my life, I wondered if you thought of me. And now I know. You didn't." Sarah's hand found mine, steady and warm. I turned to my so-called family, my voice clear, "Keep your empire. Keep your shame. The only inheritance I'll claim is my daughter, the proof that love can grow where abandonment tried to take root." And with that, the balance broke completely. The power wasn't theirs anymore. It was mine. The conservatory had gone still. The orchids hung above us like pale witnesses, their petals trembling in the draft. Victoria sat frozen, Richard's knuckles white around his cane, James pacing like a cornered animal. For once, their empire didn't feel untouchable. It felt small, suffocating. I turned away from them. My daughter's hand was still in mine, grounding me. Her thumb brushed across my skin, a reminder of every sacrifice I had made and every joy I had earned. I had walked into this house searching for something, recognition, apology, truth. And though I had found none of it, I realized I no longer needed it. We walked to the door together. With every step, the weight on my chest lightened, as though I was leaving more than a room, I was leaving decades of silence, of not knowing. Behind us, the family I once longed for sat in their fortress of glass, already cracking under the truth they could not bury. Outside, the air was sharp and clean, carrying the scent of vineyards stretching to the horizon. I paused at the top of the stone steps and looked back only once. Not at the mansion, but at Sarah. Her eyes met mine, steady and proud, and I saw the reflection of everything I had ever needed. "You don't need them, Mom," she said softly. I smiled, though my throat ached. "No. I never did." The car door shut with a solid thud, and the engine hummed to life. Gravel scattered as we rolled down the long drive, the house shrinking in the rearview mirror until it was only a shape against the hills. For the first time in my life, the question of who I was no longer haunted me. I wasn't their discarded secret. I wasn't their mistake. I was a mother. I was loved. And as the road curved away from the estate, I whispered the truth aloud, letting it finally belong to me: I am enough.